watching the Linux Unix Tech channel, and now, here's your host, Data Pioneer.
Good morning, everybody. Data Pioneer here with the Linux Unix Tech channel, and hope everybody's doing well today. It is the 16th of February, 2021, and today I thought I would take a look at an operating system that is not even on DistroWatch's radar, distrowatch.com, and it's called Peux OS, and here it is. There's the website for it, peu-os.netlify.app. It is based on Arch Linux, and it comes in different flavors. It says XFCE, LXQt, and GNOME. We're going to look at the XFCE. That's the one I'm going to install. You have different methods that you can install, or different sources, rather. You can go with the free and open source torrents, or you can go with the SourceForge, or you can go to OSDN. You can come down here. Here's the view many notes, and come down here to, or actually go to the top of the website here, and there's a connect link. There's also a download link here. If you click on the download link, that takes you out to the download itself for the distributions, and these are all torrents, and so you'll need to have a torrent client like Transmission or some other BitTorrent client, and download your ISO file and put it in where you can find it. I'm going to run this in my favorite hypervisor, which is VirtualBox 6.x. And so let's go ahead and get out to it. Here's my VirtualBox 6.x setup. Let's go up to Machine and New, and let's get started. And I'm going to type in PEUX -OS underscore XFCE underscore 20.01, which is the version that we're looking at here. And it is going to be a Linux type, not Windows. And it is based, as I said, on Arch 64-bit. I'm going to select that and click Next. I'm going to give this 4096 RAM, which is 4 gigs, 4096 megabytes. Let's click Next here. And we're going to create a virtual hard disk now. We're going to create that. We're going to say VDI VirtualBox disk image. Yes, click Next. Dynamically allocated as opposed to fixed. So let's do a dynamically allocated. Click Next. And then I'm going to give this 25 gigs of space to work with. And because I believe the ISO itself is about 2.1 or a little larger in size, gigs in size. Let's do Create here. And as usual, let me go out and do settings and tweak some things. All right, so we have this setup here. Let's click on System. System memory's fine. I'm going to untick floppy and highlight hard disk and move it up the boot order so that it boots up on the hard disk instead of the optical. Processors, I'm going to change this from 1 to 2 processors just to give it another processor. I've got 4 in my system. For display, I'm going to give this the full 128 megs of video memory. I'm going to select the graphics controller to be a VBox SVGA, even though I do get a warning down here for invalid settings detected. That's okay for me. Doesn't cause any issues. Now I'll click Storage. For empty here, I'm going to select the virtual CD-ROM drive. I'm going to come down and select, I already downloaded and installed it here, so I'm going to select that, put that in, and let's go down to audio, and this looks okay. Network, I do want to change that away from NAT to bridged adapter, for network address translation to bridged adapter, so we have the same IP address as the rest of the network. For USB, I'm going to select 3.0, and I think that's all the changes we'll need to make here. So let me click OK, and let's get started. So let me click Start, and let me go out and select that again. It didn't grab it for some reason, and let's choose that, and let's click Start, and let's do View, Full Screen, and Switch. All right, so let's let this wait to actually hit Enter key, and it'll come up and then start here to install in about 4 seconds. for an automatic boot rather. And so it's booting up now, and we'll come to a installer, and we'll get this thing installed, and then we'll take a look at it. I hope you like it. Like I said, this is brand new. First time I've ever seen it, first time I've ever installed it, and so this is going to be the first time for both of us. And so we have to be patient here because it does take a few seconds. If you've used Arch Linux in the past, you know that Arch can be a little, not sluggish, but can be a little slow sometimes in getting started because there's a lot of things going on in the background in Arch Linux that you don't see in a lot of other distros of Linux. Here we go. So it's coming up now to full screen, and we should get a desktop wallpaper here momentarily, and it looks like it's developing. It hasn't come up to, there we go. And so here's our wallpaper. It's ready now for us to do an install. So here's the install system. It's a Calamares installer. So let me double click it, and let me mark it as executable, and double click it again, and get it launched. And here we go. All right, so we're looking at American English here, and so let's click next. I'm not going to do any of the installations for Office. I'm going to wait and do that. If I do it, I'll do it later. So I want this install to go as quickly as possible, and that will just slow it down. It's easy to install Office, and I'm going to be installing LibreOffice when I do it. Let's click next here. I'm in the New York time zone. That's fine. America, New York zone. That's where I'm at. So let's click next. We've got the English keyboard and English chosen over here, and so I'm going to click next. We're going to go ahead and erase the disk, and we're not going to set up any swap. This is a virtual machine, and so I just want it to be a basic plain Jane. Let's click next, and let me put in my name. And what do I want to call myself? Data Pioneer, of course. What do I want to call the machine? I want to call it PEUX-OS-XFCE-VM. All right, password for the user, put that in. All right, looks good. Password for, we do not want to log in automatically. We do not want to use the same password for root. So let me put that in. Different password. Looks good, and let's click next. And this gives us a summary of what we're doing. That looks good. Let's go ahead and install it. All right, so it's getting going with the install. This will probably take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. I suspect it'll be more closer to 5 minutes because I've got a fairly fast system, but it does take a while to do this. So I will pause the video and come back when it's completed. Okay, I'm back, and it has completed the process. It took about 7 minutes on my system to complete the install. We're done, and so it's at the restart now. It's already checked. Let's go ahead and click done and do a restart. And it'll go through the restart process, and then it'll come back up, and hopefully we'll be back to 1920 by 1080 resolution. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the enter key there and get this thing launched for the first time after the installation. So here it is, it's Peux OS. And here we go. So here's the desktop login screen rather. So let me click here and where my name is, and then come down and click in the password field and type in my password. Hit enter key, and it should boot up into the system for the first time. Then we'll take a look at it. This is going to be the system setup. That was the system setup. This is going to be the product review portion of the video here. All right, so it's coming up now. First thing I want to do is I think I want to change out the wallpaper. So let's take a look at that when it comes up. All right, so here's the wallpaper. I'm not very keen on this wallpaper here. So let's do a right click on the desktop and come down to desktop settings. And it looks like the only thing available here is this one wallpaper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up. It looks like this is the Firefox web browser. It is. And so let me open that up. And while we've got this open, let's look at what version we have. So if I do help about Firefox, it looks like we are running 85.0, 64-bit, which is pretty much the latest version. And I believe that Peux OS is a rolling release as well. So it gets updates fairly quickly. Like I said, brand new to me. I've never seen it before. Let's go ahead and close that. I'm going to take you out to a website, and I'm going to put the link to for this down below the video. It's https://wallpaperscraft.com. And it's a collection of wallpapers. It's a great place, a great site to get your wallpapers, by the way. So I've got a widescreen monitor, and I want to select the 1920 by 1080 resolution. Let me come down and let me go to, let's go to nature selection here. I like this one. Let's go with this one. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to let's go to wallpaper, download it. I'll right click and save the image. I'm going to save it into the pictures folder, and it is the lake, mountain, trees. So let's click save, and so that's saved that. Let me go ahead and close the browser, close the tabs. Let's right click on the desktop again, desktop settings, and there it is. So I'm going to select it and close, and so we've got a new wallpaper now out here on the desktop. And so, like I said, I will put a link to that site down below the video. I think you'll really enjoy it. Okay, so we've got our icon out here. We've got and a search applications menu. Let's go through this real quick. We've got about XFCE, accessibility, add, remove, advanced network interface. We've got appearance, Vahi SSH server, VNC server. I'm just going to go through these, and then we'll go back and look at some of these in the other, when I click on the right click on the desktop. Bluemail is the mail client. Bluetooth, got Bluetooth here. Bulk rename, Butter Manager. Now, something I didn't tell you is Peux OS uses the Butterfuss file system, or the Btree file system, BTRFS. So it does have the capability to take snapshots, and you can roll back the operating system, which is a great thing. ClamTK, got CMake, color profiles, Conky. Okay, we've got the Conky. Default applications, we got desktop, Discord, display, Electron, which I'm assuming is I believe that's a code editor. File manager, get the file manager here. Files, it does use files as the file manager. Firefox web browser, which we took a look at. FireJail configuration. Fire tools, we've got the regular standard firewall configuration. Hardware locator. HTOP, we've got that. We'll take a look at that in a moment. KeyWeb, keyboard, LeafPad, logout, LPlayer for playing music. Mail reader, we've got manage printers, mouse and touchpad. MPV player, multi-writer, onion share, OpenShot. This does use the Tor browser as well, and we'll get to that in a moment. Power Manager, print settings, Pulse Audio Video, Ristretto Image Viewer. We've got Screensaver, Session, and let's see, what is that? Session, and can't tell what that is. That's okay. Settings Editor, Settings Manager, Shortwave. Not really sure what that is. I think that's the same as like G Radio. I don't think that's a shortwave radio. It could be. Software token. Software token here. Stacer. Let's go ahead and take a look at Stacer. Stacer is a great thing. Stacer is a way to monitor your system resources on the system. So you've got CPU, memory, and disk here. Downloads, total downloads, uploads here, speed. And you've got various selections over here for startup apps, for system cleanup. So for startup apps, you can toggle on and off what you want started. At boot up, you've got a way to clean up your system. So you clean up your package caches, your crash reports, your application caches, your trash, that kind of thing. Here we got search. Here we have services that are currently running in the system. You can turn them on or off. and various things there. We have processes that are running. It says we have 53 right now. 1130 packages. And by the way, when I ran through the Calamares installer, it installed 245,000 packages. That's why it took so long. Here's the resources, and this is a monitor view, a graph view of the monitoring of the resources. Here we have host manager, so we have helpers, and then we've got some settings here for disks, start page, and language. All right, so let's go ahead and close this and quit, and let's go back to where we were. And let's see, where were we? We were at, let's see here. We were at Stacer, yeah. Terminal emulator, termite, Thunar file manager. We've got time shift, Tent2 settings, the Tor web browser. So if I click on that, it'll open up the Tor web browser. If you use Tor, you'll enjoy this because it will let you configure it and connect. So I'm going to go ahead and just connect and bring that up and show you what it looks like, and then we'll move on. And let's get it to full screen. So here's what the Tor browser looks like. It does slow things down quite a bit, so you might want to use it only when you want to just hide your identity for sure. The thing about it is if I click on IP Chicken, let's go there, ipchicken.com to get my IP address, my WAN. You can see that my WAN IP is 185.220.101.216. That is not my WAN IP. My WAN IP is like 72 dot something. So it is hiding our identity. Don't know where that is in the world. All right, so let's close the Tor browser and close the tabs here. And let's get back to where we were. And so I'm going to go through this really quickly. All right, so we are at Variety, Web Browser, Window Manager, Workspaces. So you can increase the number of workspaces. You can see I only have 2 workspaces here. So I think if I open this up, this will let me bump that up to at least 4. I usually use 6 workspaces. So I've got 6 workspaces now. Let's close that. And I believe that was about it, but I'll double check it here. And yep, Xarchiver, XFCE terminal, and XFCE terminal there. And so that's all we have on that. All right, so let's come across, and we've got the browser here. Let's click on that. This is a drop down for our terminal, and so that's kind of cool. Let me bring that up if I can, and let's do a uname A. You can see that we're running Linux Peux OS XFCE VM 5.1.11-arch1-1 kernel. So that's a fairly recent kernel, if not the latest kernel. And the rest of it looks normal. Let me clear the screen. And let me do a DFH so we can see what the structure here is of how it formatted the drives. And so we do have a root partition, dev SDA1, and then we've got a home partition that's separate here. And let's see, yeah, that's it. All right, let me clear the screen. I'll get into the regular terminal when we look at HTOP. There's something I wanted to do here, and I can't remember what it was I wanted to do. So let me just go ahead and exit out of this. I know what it was. I wanted to update the system. To do that, this is an Arch-based Linux system, so to do that I would do a sudo pacman -SYY for updating the repos. And let me put in my password for sudo. And so it's going to synchronize the package database. And once that's synchronized, then we'll go ahead and update the packages. So we've got the core, extra, and community repos were updated. And so if I do a sudo pacman -SYU, that should start the process here, and it's going to install quite a few files. And so let's go, our packages, and so let's go ahead and say yes and let that run. And this is going to take a while. Arch Linux does take a while because some things, even after it installs, it has to go out and actually configure those, configure the source, and compile the source code. And so this will take a while. So when this is completed, I will come back. Okay, it's completed the process. Finished 289 packages were installed in the system, so we're done with that. And so let's move on now. So we've taken a look at Firefox web browser. Let's take a look at this. Click that, and that is our files manager, a file manager. It's called Files, and so let's go ahead and unmount the CD-ROM that we had in there, and click on that. And so here we are with File Manager, and so we have the documents, downloads, music, pictures. So it does have the pictures that we had in there. And let's see, let's go back out, and so we've got public, templates, and videos. And so let's move on. Close that out, and so it looks like it changed the wallpaper on us. So let me go back and select the one that I had. I don't really particularly care. I don't know where that one came from. It's interesting. Maybe this operating system grabs random wallpaper. Not really sure. So let me click on that and get back to where we were. Kind of prefer this one better. It's a little bit darker. All right, so here we've got Stacer. I showed you that earlier, and I won't go through that again. So that's the Stacer icon here. Let's quit that. And so let's take a look at this. This is the software interface. And so I wanted to install, let's see if I can go to category. I don't want to do featured. I want to do photo. Yeah, photo and video. And I want to look at, see if Krita is available. Krita is a software kind of like GIMP. It is a suite, which is I prefer actually over here. It is so Krita 4.4.2-2. Let's go ahead and install that. So I'm going to click the install button, and apply. And it says choose your optional dependencies for Krita. Not really sure what I want to choose here, but I'll just go ahead and do the first one, the open, that one right there. And let's choose that one. And it should be installing it now. Let's do apply. And so that's doing the install now. And then I'll show you Krita really quickly before we move on. If you haven't used Krita before, I think you'll prefer it over GIMP. I know I do. It has greater possibilities. So it says a required restart is required for changing the effects, and so let's close that, close this. Let's go out and restart the system, and we'll take a look at Krita and when we get back in. So it's doing a restart now, and let me go ahead and hit the enter key. And so it should take a few seconds here. Here it comes. Peux OS. I like it so far. Pretty responsive. This particular operating system, by the way, a little bit of history on it that I did learn is that it was not really developed to be a standard distribution for everybody to use. It was actually developed by the developer during the pandemic because he got bored. So he decided to make his own Arch spin, and this is it, Peux OS. I like it. All right, so it came back up to our regular wallpaper, and so we should get the conky in the middle there, little widget with the date, hopefully. No, it changed the wallpaper again. I don't know why it's doing that. Let's go back and switch it back. I don't see our widget for the date, which is interesting. So that's one thing I noticed that doesn't seem to be working the way it should. Let's see what this is. This is our terminal, and so if I bump that up, can personalize it though, if we want to do that. It says that we have some updates available here. So let me do an edit, preferences. Let's come down to appearance, and let's change the geometry of this terminal. Make that 120. I've got a 1920 by 1080 screen, so I'm going to make this 120 columns and 35 rows. Should be about right. And I do this with every distribution that I install or use. Let's do monospace regular, but bump up the font size to 15. And for colors, I think I'll just leave that the way it is. I guess I could change something about it, but I'm just going to leave it. This is just a VM. Let's close that, and so let's open it again and see what we have. Yeah, so we just have a larger terminal, okay? And so let me go ahead and click in here, and didn't seem to be responding. All right, so that's interesting. We might have to look at that. Here's my audio. It says it's now it's muted. Now it's unmuted, 44%. If I want to increase it, I can, but I'm not going to do that. Let's come on across. We've got the date here, 21/02/16. We've got our 4 workspaces, or 6 workspaces rather. And then we've got, I'm not sure what that is because it's not responding. And we've got time and date. Don't see any calendar there. And let's see, we've got sandbox. I'm not sure what the sandbox does. Oh, okay. So it brought up the fire jails, and Mozilla Firefox and the Tor browser. All right, so let's close that. Let's go back over here again, and antivirus. If you click on that, it should bring up the antivirus, and there it is. So I can go in and whitelist, network, scheduler, history, quarantine, updates, update assistant, scan a file, scan a directory, etc., etc. All right, let's go back, and we've got Tor browser we've already looked at, and then we've got settings. So let's look at settings here. Bring that to the center of the screen. We've got appearance. So we've got Adwaita dark. Let me click on Adwaita dark. I like Adwaita dark. And for icons, we've got fonts and general settings. Okay, so let's close this. Let's go back to, we can get to settings here this way as well. Applications. No, that's just applications. Let me go back over here. And let's go into settings again. So we've got notifications, window manager, desktop, screensaver, workspaces, file manager settings. We looked at some of these already. Touchpad, display, power manager, keyboard, mouse and keyboard, or touchpad. Accessibility, add, remove software. Let's take a look at that. So if I bring that up, it allows us to go in and remove software that we've already installed and to install additional software. For instance, the LibreOffice suite, as I told you, I could do that later, but I'm not going to do it now, but I want to take the time to do it. You know how to install software. And so you come in here, and if you wanted to do install, for instance, the LibreOffice 7.0.4-1, just hit the install button and go ahead and let it install it for you. Default applications, firewall configuration, session setup, Bluetooth, and adapters. All right, let's go ahead and close that. And let's right-click on the desktop, come to applications, and then see we have another menu here of everything that we have available. And I've already gone through all of these, I believe, at least once or maybe even twice. So we don't need to go through them again. But here they are. They're all available from just right-clicking on the desktop and selecting applications as well. Okay, so we can create a document. We can create an empty file out on the desktop. I'll just call this test file.txt and click create, and that should create it out on the desktop. If I want to right-click and open with LeafPad, I can open it up. And if you haven't used LeafPad, highly recommend you do that, because LeafPad is kind of like It's kind of like Notepad for Windows, if you're familiar with that. Let me see if I can grab the corner. I'm having trouble grabbing the corner of this. All right, that's fine. And so you can type in anything you want. This is text added to the file. Okay, and then just save it. All right, and there we go. So if we open it up again, now we've got the text in the file. All right, and so let's right click, and then we can do create a launcher if we want to, create a URL link, or create a folder if we want to create a folder. So just call this test folder and click create. So it puts another folder out on the desktop. I'm not a big fan. I'm not keen on putting folders anymore out on the desktop. I like to keep that clean as possible. All right, so then over here, and the last thing we need to do is click on this, and we do have a logout, restart or shutdown. So I'm going to go ahead and do a shutdown and close it out. Okay, so this has been a review, system setup and product review of Peux OS. Highly recommend it to you to take a look at. Go out on the website. I will put a link to the homepage for Peux OS, which is here. I'll put that down below the video. And so if you thought this video was helpful, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, please. It'll help my channel. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe to that. Click on the image that you see, and then click on the subscribe button, and then hit that bell off to the right-hand side so that you can be notified every time I upload a video. And so this has been Data Pioneer with the Linux Unix Tech Channel. Have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye.